Welcome back to the Independent Producers Organization show. And by the way, I want to thank our crew very much for making all this possible. And my guest right now is Jacki Gethner. She's a licensed massage therapist, and she had just won a Kaiser Permanente. Do I have that right?
Yes.
For
this last November, I was awarded the Kaiser Permanente National Diversity Award for my work in HIV and AIDS.
For HIV and AIDS, and just the whole thing kind of amazes me. I think it's just great that you've done that, and it's maybe you can. Did you want to talk about it a little
Sure,
more? I think there's
I
a
do.
whole idea about how important it is to let people know about that,
Right.
and so. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I've been working in the world of HIV and AIDS since 1988.
Okay.
And I've worked with over 18,000 people either infected or affected by HIV. My oldest girlfriend became infected after intravenous drug use from pain medication, which happens a lot for people when they're on pain meds for very long.
And it was before they caught it and could.
Right. This was
catch-
back in 1987.
That was
that
before.
that happened.
Yeah.
And the first holistic and Western medicine AIDS conference in the United States was held in Boulder, Colorado, which is where I used to live. And so I wanted to learn as much as I could about HIV. And so I was in massage school at the time, and I offered to put together a massage team because at that time people were wearing gloves and gowns and masks around anybody that had HIV.
Oh yeah.
So,
Okay.
and it was a very powerful experience and kind of evolved into my working nationally and internationally teaching people about HIV. But instead of just doing massage on them, what I realized was, as with a lot of chronic illnesses, as AIDS is now considered a chronic illness, but in terminal illnesses also, that touch is really important for everybody involved. The family is stressed out by someone being ill. So this, by teaching them skills, allows persons the opportunity to help themselves through someone else's crisis as well as help that person.
Okay. All right.
So I was awarded this award.
Okay.
And with that came $10,000.
Cool. Okay.
And so with the $10,000, I have a nonprofit, and I have developed an HIV prevention program for women over 50 in the state of Oregon.
Yeah, just to make them aware of it.
Just to make them aware of it. And because even though we don't have an epidemic of HIV in women over 50 in Oregon, this is a retirement state where people are moving to retire.
Yeah.
And 15 to 17% of all new cases around HIV are people over the age of 50, which people find pretty amazing.
Amazing. That's right. Because it just used to be such a young person, and then so many died. Who knows how many died? I guess they
Too many.
Yeah, they kept track, of course.
And I don't have the statistics for Oregon. I'm sorry I wasn't able to get that before we came on the air. But what I do know is that it's not an epidemic here, but prevention is about so there's not. And I am 60 years old, and so part of my age bracket is very knowledgeable. We were all old hippies. We talked about sex really openly. We probably still do. But there were a lot of women who married their high school sweethearts or the football captain or whatever. They've been married for 40 or 50 years, and maybe their spouse has died or they've become divorced, and they really aren't educated about the perils of unprotected sex. And there isn't any education for that. You see in the erectile dysfunction commercials, it's all these married couples waiting for the grandchildren to leave. They never address single people who do computer dating or online dating, of however you look at that, or just meet people in other places. And a lot of people feel like if they can't get pregnant, they don't need to practice safe sex, which means use a condom. And so
like they're
that's
older.
what
Older.
Right, because they can't get pregnant, and that's what a lot of men will also tell them. And so my goal is to have women educate other women throughout the state of Oregon about the importance of both being tested for HIV, but also being tested for hepatitis C, because so many people have no knowledge about hepatitis C, and you can be asymptomatic with that for 20 years, and now people are coming into that 20-year age thing, and I think you're going to start seeing hepatitis C being maybe treated like HIV was in the beginning, with a lot of fear, a lot of misinformation. So
There is a lot of information. I can see that. Is the best place to get it still on the internet, or
the information or HIV?
Everything about it, so that these. Oh.
Well, no, I was being facetious. So
It's all right.
my website, which is JackiGethner.com, which you're going to have on at the end of the show, has a section for resources. And that lists a number of websites where people can go for information about HIV awareness and hepatitis C awareness.
Okay, I'd encourage them to leave it on, because if it's that kind of information, yes, people may want it.
Right.
So yes.
So just as part of that, this is an issue of magazine that most people won't ever see. It's called Pause, and the reason you won't see it, it's a magazine that's for HIV positive people.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And in the back of the article, this is this month's issue, is an article regarding myself and the award that I won. And I call it my fold-out session. Just talking about the importance of HIV and what I'm trying to create. The other part of my program is a national program for women who are infected. And that I'm doing with two of my cohorts. Who I've worked with for a number of years, and one of them is a woman who's been living positively for nearly 30 years.
Oh, okay.
And so she and I and Sally are going to be doing retreats like we used to do for AIDS Medicine and Miracles for positive women, to teach them how to live older with this disease and do better. And then we're hoping to move it also into some workshops for women who aren't infected, because we find women of my age and their ages are a little more naive than we would like them to be, not just about relationships and sexuality, but just about trusting people in their lives and staying independent. So I think that that's really important, so that's going to be the focus of my award money.
I think that's great. That's fantastic. I just, maybe if I think of any other questions as we go along.
Okay.
One thing I noticed recently here, it talks like they've really got some control in what do you call it? Medical
treatment
yeah,
of HIV.
Really got some good controls.
They do. They
now.
have some really great treatment. The only thing is that unlike a lot of other medications, they go through years of testing, so you kind of know what the liabilities are in terms of, or side effects are in terms of taking certain medications. HIV meds have had to come out really quickly. And so whereas people are living longer with HIV, they're also starting to see problems with kidney failure, liver failure, heart problems, depending on the individual and what's going on in their world.
As a result.
As a result.
Yeah.
So it is prolonging people's lives. I don't want to say prolonging. It's extending people's lives, and it's giving them a lot of options. But it doesn't still excuse the fact that it's a disease that can be prevented, and it just takes knowledge and information, and also feeling good about yourself to be able to say no if someone chooses to have sex with you or wants to have sex with you and is not willing to practice safe sex. Yeah. So that's kind of my deal on HIV, but I know you invited me here for some other reasons.
No, that too. Definitely that.
Okay.
But, and I didn't know if you had anything more to do.
So no, I'm hoping to do a training in Eugene, Corvallis, Albany area, the Ashland, Medford, Grants Pass area, the Bend, Redmond, John Day area, and then Pendleton, Warm Springs area. So what I'm doing right now is I'm submitting funding requests to put out to train 20 women in each of these areas to be peer educators, and they would be supported once a month by a community-based organization that would be a go-to person. They could ask questions, they'll get supplies. And then out of this, I'm also getting statistics. I had the launch for my program a couple of weeks ago, and whereas we had a small number of people, we only had 24 people come. It spoke of two things. First of all, half those people got tested while they were there, which was wonderful. But more than that, I think women are more likely, and I'm kind of embarrassed to say this as a woman myself, but I really do believe that this is true, and it's a very general statement, that women are more willing to be involved in a not safe sexual experience for themselves than they are to be able to care enough about themselves to say, as they say in some communities, no glove, no love. In terms of get up, even if it's at the last microsecond, and say, you know what, this doesn't feel comfortable with me. Because we've all had occasions where we've said, oh, just this time. Well, you need to know that, oh, this just time can cost you your life.
Absolutely.
So I'm more blunt than a lot of people would probably choose to be, but it's where I've always found that the honesty comes from, is being just very honest about what's up.
You've got to say it like it is.
And it's not that I don't believe that men act responsibly, but there are a lot of men out there. I used to call them they were the kind of guys in high school that used to make the rounds. Well, now I call them leisure suit Casanovas. They're still making the rounds in the retirement centers and things like that. And I think as baby boomers get older, this is going to be more of an issue. And then we're going to need to be looking at it in terms of retirement communities or other facilities and what their position's going to be. Because what I know to be true, and even happens in my family in terms of my son going too much information, and he's grown up with me talking about this stuff my whole life, or his whole life, is that parents are going to come in, or children are going to come in to where maybe their mom or their dad is, and say, you can't let my mom have sex here. She's too old, or she's too whatever. And it's not
That's
their
quite a statement.
right. So it's going to be a big issue in terms of politics. It's about educating physicians to ask that question, because a lot of physicians are really young and they are feeling like they're asking their mom if she's having sex, and that they need to get over that. People need to get over this whole sex thing, So
that's right.